Hi, I'm Catherine Leahy, and today I will be talking about police brutality and racial profiling in police stops specifically. So to start off, what is racial profiling? Defined here, use of race or ethnicity as grounds for suspecting someone of having committed an offense. So that's really just using their race and your bias against that particular race as one of the main reasons why you're convicting them of a certain crime. So some causes of racial profiling. First, we'll start with the unbalanced power dynamic. So obviously the police officer here yields more power than the suspect does because they have weapons, they have guns, etc., etc. However, this goes to the police officer's brain. And we can see this in the Stanford Prison Experiment. The Stanford Prison Experiment, a group of men, some were assigned as police officers or officers in a prison, and some were assigned as prisoners. And they were told to act in the way that they think their position should act. The power went to a police officer's brain in this experiment, and they went crazy on the prisoners. They acted in horrific manners. They brutally terrorized the prisoners just because that's the way they think they should act. This is the same with police officers. Police officers see in other situations that they should be acting a certain way against racial minorities, and so they take that upon themselves and they take that power position, and it goes to their brain. Another reason is under other recent community events. So when police shootings, by police shootings, I mean shooting at a police officer by a racial minority, for example, a Black person, which was studied in this particular study about other community events, deadly force on other individuals inside that community where it happened, especially against Black individuals, increases substantially. It does not for white and Hispanic people, which shows that other community events have a significant effect on racial profiling and police brutality. And then there's also a physical reason on why police brutality or deadly force happens. When the police officer identifies something as a threat, for example, when somebody is grabbing for their license and the police officer thinks it's a gun, it's because their brain only identifies and it focuses in on that particular thing, which they think is the gun. This takes away their other senses such as vision and hearing, so they won't notice other things around them that might tell them this is not a gun, they're just grabbing for their driver's license. This mixed in with racial biases is a dangerous combo, and that's why a lot of deadly force happens. So some solutions to police brutality and racial profiling. First is reallocations of funds. Reallocations of funds would mean take away the billions of dollars that is going to police right now and make other emergency groups such as social workers and mental health services so they can handle non-violent emergencies. This would also help police brutality because, as we've seen before with Black individuals, sometimes when mental health crises happen and a police officer shows up, it heightens the emergency because of the fear of police officers certain communities have. So with introducing social workers and mental health professionals, that eliminates that possibility. Federal lethal force standard, by passing this, the president could pass this, and it would say that lethal force can only be used as a last resort, after all other options have been used. It would also have to be used if there was going to be bodily harm to the police officer. Right now, the standard is if the police officer deems it as necessary. So that would change it up a bit. And then the other third option is education reform, specifically ban warrior training. Warrior training makes a police officer seem as though an attacker to the suspect instead of seeing it as helping out the community. It's like an us versus them. all advocates for reforms for police call for education reform specifically. However, I find the best option to be reallocation of funds because, like I said, many of the lethal killings of racial minorities has been due to mental health crises and the police getting involved. Overall, my perspective hasn't changed that much. I've always had a more liberal stance on this, that I think the justice system needs to be reconstructed, and this just reaffirmed my idea in that. So yeah, thank you and have a good day. Bye.